Welcome to the Animation Career Community Podcast, where we answer your questions on how to grow, maintain, and transform your animation career at every stage. I'm your co-host, John.
And I'm your co-host, Kathy. Today we're talking to Tarun, who's an amazing animator and filmmaker and a great friend of ours. We're so excited to talk to him about his career in animation and transitioning into the gaming industry. Let's get into it. You're a writer, 3D animator, and director. Originally from Kerala, India. Kerala, India. Oh, I was going to get that right.
No, that's all good.
Kerala, India. You studied film at the National Institute of Design. And after you worked in India for a while, you came to Canada and studied at Sheridan, taking animation. Of course, I've also taken. And then you started working professionally in Toronto. Not only are you working professionally in the industry, you've done multiple short films, including directing for the NFB. And with your partner, Joanna, in 2024, you guys were winners of the Pitch This, which is incredible. And after years working in the animation industry, you transitioned to gaming, and you're working at Ubisoft for the past 2 years, I believe.
Almost 3, I think. Yeah.
So
2 and 6 months.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you're past the 2-year mark. Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on the show, and that there's so many things I want to talk to you about just in that small bio.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. John, do you have any questions that you'd like to start us off with?
Actually, I'm really interested in how you got interested in pursuing a career in animation. You know, for a lot of people, obviously watching cartoons and stuff, but we want to hear your experience with that. How did you start your interest?
Right. I'm actually, I'll try and nail it down. I feel like a lot of people, when they ask this, they know the exact point in time.
Right.
And for me, it's like a bit of a haze. I remember like there were VHSs of animation that I'd asked for, and like the pickings were slim. Like I'd get like very old copies of like Winnie the Pooh and stuff like we moved around a lot when I was growing up, so I got exposed to a lot of animation. For a little while I was in India, and then in the, I would say like 3rd or 4th grade, we moved to the UK. And it's a whole other aspect of children's animation.
Right.
And I got exposed to that. Then we moved back, and again, like a different scene. So I feel like my sensibilities are a bit of both. So I'm glad too that I got exposed to like Paddington and Thomas the Tank Engine and all that stuff.
Right.
Which when I was watching it was also like 20, 30, 40 years old, but at the time it felt very current and timeless. And when we moved back, it was like more whatever I could get my hands on. So it was a lot of the. My mother was a big fan of the Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Oh wow! Okay.
And again, and she did not mind I was watching them. I know other parents were like, "Oh, you shouldn't be watching this; it's very violent." So, but no, she was like, "Oh, these are great. You should watch them." And I'm really thankful for that. Yeah.
So do you find that like these different sensibilities have helped you like navigate within the North American, especially Canadian market? Because like, Canada has a heavy British influence, and so India as well. But like I always find as a viewer of entertainment from the UK, I understand it a little bit better than my American counterparts. Do you?
Totally. Yeah. There's I mean, this is maybe too specific, but I find when we watch like British shows and stuff, don't need the subtitles,
Right.
which is a gift. It's like a talent for some reason.
Totally.
And I did like go back and watch things that I vaguely remember my parents watching at the time we were in the UK. I've gone back and watched some like I don't know, like Coronation Street stuff, like the old some of EastEnders stuff. Like I vaguely remember that in the back of my head. But when sorry, I drifted up, and like you asked when I wanted to get into animation, and I'd have to say like it was it would probably be when I was very lucky that a teacher of mine, she would see that I'd just be drawing constantly, and at the time I had no clue it was a goal that I could do. Especially growing up in India, you were two things. You'd either become an engineer or you'd inherit your parents' business and get into commerce. And
Right.
that was the mentality in the town I grew up in. You go to engineering. No, sorry, there's three things: engineering, medicine, um, and or you'd go into commerce. And
Right.
I was so undecided that I took the group that was the hardest group to get into, which was you studied engineering and medicine. So you get prepped to do both.
Wow.
So
Oh
when you
my
graduate
gosh.
high school, you can either go to engineering or medicine. And that I on one hand, I'm so sad I did that because I could have kicked my feet up and just drawn more. Um, but on the plus side, uh, if you go through that hard schooling phase, I think I was drawing way more on the back of my books and
Hmm.
getting more distracted and messing up in my studies. But I feel like the art thrived then. So yeah, it was a physics teacher. She told me like,
Wow.
you know, you're
Right.
drawing a lot and you're like really good. Have you heard of this place called the National Institute of Design? People who pursue arts go there, and I hadn't, and
Hmm.
I brought it to my parents like a very planned sort of presentation. Like, this is why I should go here. They have an animation program, and it took a little pushing because they were like, "You draw, you should be an architect," because
Right.
that was the other
That's
way.
another big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's important. Actually, what you're talking about is important for a lot of people to remember is that we all have different paths to
mhm,
our careers, and yours, are obviously your story is unique, but it's also something that a lot of people can relate to
of course,
because
yeah.
of either cultural expectations or family expectations. I know from my experience, very similar in a sense. I was basically groomed to be a lawyer.
Wow.
Um, and kind of like you, I was getting ready to go to McGill, basically, and then I had that little switch go off. So it's really nice to hear your story about that too, and having the support of a teacher, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that really struck me in that story is like how lucky people are to have like somebody point them in the right direction or just see in them that there's something there. Because at that age, when you're younger and you don't really feel like you're the best at what you do or the confidence to be an artist, having someone say like think you can do this really makes a difference. I had an easier path to get to going to art school, but because my parents were very supportive like right out the gate, but I had a lot of internal doubts about it because people would ask me, oh, you're an artist, and I would say no. Well, I have no credentials to being an artist. So it really helps to have like a helper to come along, especially someone you respect. Um,
For sure, yeah. I even like from there, like I I was still going to take. I took the architecture exam, but it was my
Mm,
mother who she's come clean. She told my dad recently. She actually threw away the results because
oh,
wow.
because I had gotten decent results, and he had it in with a professor at an architecture school. He was like,
mm.
We're gonna ship you off there early. You're gonna sleep on his couch. You're gonna like wait
Oh
for
my
him,
gosh.
and then you're gonna
Wow.
start school in the following month." And he had this whole plan for me. He's like, "We're gonna fix this art thing. We're gonna spin it. We're gonna spin it to be profitable." And she
Wow.
recently said, "The results never came to the house in the
Mm.
mail. It was back when internet results were still kind of new. So the paper you had to send to them to be like, yes, I want to enroll. She just threw it out.
Wow,
So
your mom is an
yeah,
impressive lady.
Wow.
yeah. No, it was. I'm very. You know what? I'll thank her. I keep thanking her, but I'm also like, I occasionally go like, what if I did become an architect? I was just curious.
We all have those days, right? It's like,
Yes.
maybe I should have been a lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's so fun. How did your father take the news that he'd been duped?
um, yeah, he recently retired. Like he does still he's a doctor. He still does charity work on the side, but
Oh, nice.
he's gotten to a much more zen place. So now he laughs about it. He's a very changed man. He's into karaoke, and he's into
Oh,
like
amazing.
just like living his best life. So he's laughing about it now, but I know that the man he was would not have reacted well.
So
Right.
your mom even waited for the right time to reveal the truth.
Yeah. I think she forgot she did it. Only recently. She was like, "Oh yeah, I did that, by the way." And we were all like, "What?" This happened that she confessed in the last year. I think
Right.
because now I'm like doing a little better in my career, that now they can tell
Yeah.
people, yeah, he's all right. He's okay. He's not
Yeah.
struggling.
It reminds me of my own grandfather. Like, I didn't know at the time, but when I was getting into animation, he was an engineer actually,
Oh, wow.
and he lived a pretty rough life through the Second World War, and he always felt that like you have to get a solid job, serious skills, mathematics, and which I don't blame him for feeling that way, because that helped him survive. But I found out as an adult that as I was going to school, he was telling my parents, like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you letting her go to art school? Like, she's never gonna have a career." And so once I started making money and living on my own, he was like, "Oh, I guess all that TV watching paid off."
Yeah.
Yes, so yeah.
That's so funny. So, like, what was coming from India's education system to Canada's education system like?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's very it is. I did have a different experience. My experience was that when I had a bit of culture shock, even though I'd lived abroad and stuff. When I came here, especially as an adult, and you just responsible for kind of getting a lay of the land. Also, the Sheridan Animation course. There's two courses. One is the very prestigious 4-year course, and
Mhm.
the one I went to is the 1-year course that is just packed and
Yep.
tight and stressful, and kind of I'll say like kind of like the ugly sister, the ugly stepsister, the little baby sister course. And it's very it was very interesting to see the differences, because in India, I would say, if you can focus on your education and your studies, and you don't have any human contact, you can still kind of thrive. But what I found out in Sheridan is you have to you I had to get out of my shell a bit more, and it's something that only recently I've gotten better at. It took a while. I do think when you move to another country, you take at least a year to get used to the culture and the way people talk. In Canada, here everyone makes small talk, and everyone is generally very pleasant, and but to an extent. Whereas I find when I was in India, it was a lot of like you work, your relationships are very every day doesn't have small talk in it. He's like, you can go into a store and be like, I want this, give it to me, we're gone. And but if you come back regularly, if you build that relationship, next minute you're best friends. I feel like the relationships take a while to get deep, but when they're deep, they're very deep. So whereas here, I think I could become decent friends with, like, on a very basic level, be friends with someone if I see them twice,
Right.
but not as deep. Like, it would take a while. It's neither better or whatever. It's just I had to learn how to talk to people here. It's a different way, a cadence of talking.
Yeah. I've experienced a bit of that myself when I moved to the US. But even if you move to the west coast of Canada, there's different social norms on how you build friendships and connections. I think that's the hardest part about moving somewhere where you have no support system. You want to reach out, you want to make those connections, but there's a different technique, let's put it, no matter where you are, even not even to mention if there's a language barrier, but the cultural barrier exists everywhere, I think. Um, and then on top of that, I'm sure you experience this as well. Like, you're an adult now, so you're looking after parts of your life that maybe you don't have a lot of experience doing as a student. So that's extra, I imagine, coming to another country to do something like that.
Oh, fair. Yeah, I've been again, like, I've been uh, very lucky, because when I thankfully my parents, like, I had put some money aside to come here and use to take care of myself when I was in school, and it was a drop in the bucket. Thankfully, my parents by then they were on board. They're like, okay, we'll take care of you. We'll help you with a lot of the expenses, and it really helped out. But another reason I was very lucky was I met a lot of the friends I still have to this day, like in Sheridan. I learned that like that the people you it's that thing you learn. These aren't this isn't competition. This is people you're gonna be working with for years and years and years. And I've worked with everyone I went to school with, and even people I was like I had a lukewarm relationship with or I didn't know very well. When I see them, when we see each other, like 10 years now into the industry, and we're on the same team in some studio, we're like, oh my god, hey! Like, and now
Yep.
I sit next to someone I went to school with.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious, Tarun, like, what have you been up to recently? What's
Uh,
keeping you busy?
yeah, no, I've well, what have I been up to? Not too much. I work in the gaming sphere now, which
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
which is which is interesting. It's different from TV and film, and it's but I like the fact that I came here after doing those things because um I personally feel like the game animators don't know how good they have it compared to TV and film.
Right.
Like I feel very spoiled, and the thing is, there's time to focus on like shots and stuff. So as a result,
Mhm.
I'm like, we have all this extra time. We can make stuff on the side. Like at work, I have like two or three other initiatives going on.
Right.
That's and I like keeping busy. I don't think I like any extra time being wasted. So when I'm not doing video game stuff, I try to like board my own shorts and stuff and try to make them. And usually I've got an email thread of ideas that I send to myself, and they're all terrible. But out of that, like one seems interesting, so one seems like good, and then I start making it, and it's terrible. But if I finish it, it doesn't it doesn't suck as bad. So
Right.
yeah, I've also
I like my impression of a lot of your like shorts that you've put out is that they have like a rough quality to them, but they feel organic. They feel like closer to a creative idea than a lot of animation is these days when it's been processed through so many pipes. And when you say this is a terrible idea and then you make it, I feel it's almost more of a organic creative process that way than to be like, well, this has to be the thing that's going to sell to audiences. This has to be the thing that fits into this market. And for that reason, it can be more expressive, and it doesn't have to. It's more like a science experiment where you're like, maybe one of these things will stick, you know?
oh yeah, totally. I'm very much if I come up with the idea on the day, I do this terrible thing that I don't recommend anyone do, but it's like if I come up with the idea, I'm like, I have to make this, or I'm gonna die, and and it's not a good feeling, but it's also great when I do it because then I'm like, oh, I don't die, and it gets made. But it's real, like you said, it's really rough, and it's not been thought out, so problems are there. But on the plus side, you know, like it exists, and I get to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I that was something I experienced when I made my short film, which was just the level of respect and well, respect is maybe the wrong word, but like appreciation when you actually finish and make something
yeah,
is because that is really hard. That's a lot harder than people think to like take an idea and go through a process and have it done at the end, even if it's not what you dreamed it to be. A
mhm,
lot of people never make it to that stage. So just getting there is an accomplishment.
totally. I love your short film, by the way. I asked
Oh,
you about it like a while ago, but it's so cool.
thank
And
you.
you took it to? Did you take it? You took it to Taffy too. Didn't you win like the grand prize?
No, not the grand prize. I appreciate that you think that is the
No,
case.
okay.
It's one Audience Choice Award, but I shared it. It was like tied Audience Choice Award with another animator who I think her name was Catherine as well. It was a very
Oh wow.
strange coincidence, but it was yeah. It did play at Taffy, and that was a really exciting experience to be part of. So again, like when you make something yourself, even if you know you see all the faults and you're like, oh, I don't like everything about this. Um, Getting other people's eyes on it can like dampen that self immolation, you know?
Right, totally. And plus, like, I think that was a maybe it was I think the first time I saw like actual like sort of like a horror stop mo. And since then, I feel like stop mo has like taken like I've seen horror stop mo's everywhere. It's
You know what? It lends itself to horror. Stop motion has always. I can't claim to have taken that.
no, no, because
Like,
it was my exposure to it. I was like, oh, cool.
thanks. Yeah, I was very, very inspired by horror films at the time, so I'm glad it came through.
There's like a stop mo horror like a it's like a live action movie, right? Like about a stop mo artist that they're making a film, and it's as they're making it, it's getting like terrible, and I love like there's like it's a horror like an A24 horror film. It
Mm.
came out 2 years ago. I didn't get a chance to watch it. I forget the name, but I love there's like a line in the trailer that goes like, "I don't want to make this short film anymore," and it's such a good line. It hits so hard.
Maybe you can talk a bit about like how your school experience led into like doing your own independent work, or have you always done your own work on the side?
Well, I tried to. I feel like there was that when I was in India, there were a lot of good artists around me, and they did their own thing. But they had this. There were a few in particular. They had like a sort of like a I don't know what the word is. Like not a clique. I feel like it was like they had a group of really talented artists that just make their own thing on the side. And I always wanted to do that, but again, it's the half practical side where get a decent job. Even if you're an
Mhm.
artist, get a stable job in a an animation studio wherever pays you well. So I went and worked at this place before I left India. I went and worked at this place called Tata Interactive Systems. It's Tata's like this big company that has their fingers in everything in India. So there was this program that let you make lessons, school lessons for kids in underprivileged areas. That if they didn't have a teacher, they could watch the lesson and then learn and then go write the standardized exams. So
Wow.
yeah, and it's a really noble initiative. I was so happy to be part of that. So the only way to teach that is giving like visual examples. So like for instance, I remember this so clearly. There was this inertia lesson where this guy's driving a car, and then when he hits brake, like the car skids to a stop, and then he moves forward, and people in the back seat move forward too. It's like that's kind of showing how inertia works,
Hmm.
and I took it upon myself to animate all this so so clearly, and I went too far. I animated too much. They were like, you don't have to do this, it really just has to be 2 frames. And but I added like smoke to the tires.
Oh
I was
wow.
and they were like, you what do you think you're doing? And it wasn't, I got criticized for making it look good. and and I that's when I was like, okay, it's maybe I have like I want to do my own, like I want to make my own videos and stuff. I didn't have the skill at the time. I was animating in what do you call it, Adobe Animate at the time,
Hmm.
Okay.
in my free time. But yeah, I started making these little shorts, but I was too scared to show them to anyone. They're in some they're in, I think, my old Tumblr account. they're, they're locked away. Um,
Yeah, but everybody starts somewhere. You got to,
Yeah.
you know, that's it's think of it as your testing ground for what you're doing now. And do you primarily release your stuff on like YouTube and like Instagram now?
It's mostly Instagram. I'm embarrassed to say, I only recently started a YouTube account.
That's okay. Don't
And
be embarrassed with that.
I still feel weird putting it up because I use the platform a lot as a viewer.
Mhm.
I love watching animation on YouTube, but for some reason, because it's on Instagram, it still feels like doesn't feel real. So
Right.
I have a separation to it. I don't. It's not like I'm a fan of the platform, but I love the YouTube platform. So now, only now, just getting the courage to put it out there on YouTube. I do
Well,
think I should have shared more.
yeah, I think YouTube also naturally it feels like, as you said, like a screening platform, right? It just naturally lends itself to that, and it does feel like something that most of us should eventually have something on. Um, doing all this, like, I'm curious, like, how do you find time to kind of balance all these things out? Because what I hear, which is amazing, is that you've got this burning desire to animate, to make those things move, as you mentioned in that educational short. So how do you find time? Do you just, kind of dig into your schedule, make, kind of dedicate time for your own projects?
Yeah, it's changed over the years. Right now, I try to any project that put up any small thing, 30 minutes to 30 seconds to a minute. That's
Mhm.
usually 3 hours of my evening. I try and fit
Three
it in
three
3 hours,
hours?
three
Okay.
hours, and I
Yeah.
try to fit it into those 3 hours. And if it's if it's kind of done, it's going up.
Right.
And if it's not done, I get up at like 5 or 6 the next day and try and like plaster it up and put it out there. Thankfully, Instagram's mostly consumed on phones, and the screens are
Mm.
small, so you can't
Mhm.
see comping. You can, but you can't
Right.
really see comping issues and all that. But in the past, it would be weekend projects, like 2 days. I've thankfully learned to get a little quicker with the
Mm.
messes I make, and yeah,
Well, I find this is something I've to think a lot about, especially in regards to your work, is how those messy accidents that you polish out by working on something too long are actually the thing that have appeal now with short form media, even long form media, uh, because all these big studios who spend way too much money and way too much time uh, processing, not necessarily processing to make it better, just making it different. Um, I think they could benefit, and I think you see a lot of independent artists benefiting now from the intimate nature of a smaller piece and how it can be messy. Like, even if what you're saying after 3 hours, if it's almost there, that's probably good for what you're trying to do. And the audience gets to see a little bit into the window of the process and it feels more tactile, even if it's CG.
mhm.
Wonder if you feel that way as well.
Yeah, I think there's the way I see it, there's like ideas also it gets stale.
Yeah.
Um, so as soon as I find if I work on something for say like 3 months, the idea it starts like repelling me. I'm like
Mm.
it's not fresh anymore, and by then I've gotten like 10 more things I want to do. There was this shirt that my partner Joanna and I wanted to work on, and I loved the idea, and we both like wrote it together. Like, oh, we'll do this. It's gonna be so nice, and it's like still on. I have a notice board above my desk, and it's still like one of the ideas I need to do. But we took too long. A lot of things got in the way, and we took too long to get started. That that now I'm like, oh, I have to pause it till it's fresh again. There's
Right.
like
Hmm.
a small cycle.
Smart. That's a smart idea. And you work with Joanna on quite a few things, right? Did I know you went to the NFB, and were you working with her when you were working your NFB short?
Officially, no, but unofficially, so much. Like I think that film should actually say like I'm sure I put her in special thanks, but there should be like some other special
Right.
credit for her. Yeah, where we both try to work together now on most of our stuff. I find it's she makes my work better, and I'd like to think the other way as well. Yeah, the NFB film was actually through there was this Hot House program
Hmm.
that I learned about. Just I stumbled on it, and then I researched it, uh, and it's like it's a really great opportunity for animators um, who haven't ever directed their short in to get resources and have a team to support them. I think it was one of the best gambles I've ever like the one of the best experiences I've had because I sent them like probably a 10-second loop of again one of these weekend projects. Like I did something, sent it, and they were like, "Oh, we like this treatment. Do it." And I showed up to the Montreal, the fancy NFB building,
Hmm.
and and I walked in and I was like, "Yeah, you know what I sent you? The idea, I don't want to do it anymore because it's stale. It had gotten stale."
Right.
And I pitched them something else. And they were so nice that they were like, they were. Thankfully, the new treatment also looked interesting, so they were like,
Mm.
"Cool." I think it was actually the first Blender short that they had in the program.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So do you primarily work in Blender then?
Now, like, yeah, it's been about the pandemic hit, and I just coincidentally took up Blender then, and yeah, I haven't really looked back. Yeah, it's mostly 99% Blender. Yeah,
And are you like did you just learn it through YouTube videos and tutorials?
yeah. I mostly did the one everyone does, the donut, the Blender Guru donut,
Yep,
and
I've done the donut.
yeah, and sometimes I'll go back. He updates those, which
It's
is
a
great.
good tutorial. Yeah, he really covers all of the different areas of Blender.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of like explore from there, I find.
Yeah. Do you guys have a preference, like in terms of 2D and 3D? Like, you guys have worked on multiple, and like even stop mo. Like, is there like a medium you like, or is animation animation?
I think it depends what you're doing, but I tend to gravitate to 3D. I don't mind Blender. I prefer Maya from a purely animation standpoint, but from an accessibility standpoint, I like Blender. I can see why it's starting to take off. I think it's starting to take off because the Hollywood system, the big corporate animation system is kind of failing. And there are all these artists who still want to make content and they can through it now. I think as a software, it doesn't really make sense for huge pipelines, at least not yet. But as an independent, with even if you're a small group of people, it's very, very accessible and flexible to a certain degree. So I do like Blender for that reason.
Yeah, I agree. Like Blender, it's like other free software out there. It opens up the landscape to more talent. And it's nice to see all this talent that normally would be unseen because they're not part of the big machine, let's say. Whereas the big machine, we see all the Hollywood films today, and I'll be honest, like there's not a lot of originality coming out of there. So whenever I see a short film or clips or even someone's experimental bit, it's amazing to see someone's take on how something can be done or how the same story, even if it's a very similar story to what I've seen before, how their take differs, how they can put a different spin on that story. I mean, for me, I would say I lean more towards 2D. I like all film. It can be 2D, 3D, live action, whatever. For me, it comes down to character stories. But for me, I think I lean towards 2D because a lot of my background being an older dinosaur was mostly 2D. So it was all paper drawing. And I have a bit of a background in graphic design and illustration from my teens. So I would say that's probably mostly why I would lean towards 2D. But how would you like? Are there any specific things about Blender you really really love for the audience that's getting into Blender? I think it might be helpful for them to hear from someone like you.
Right. Yeah. When I was in school, I found rendering a big like a big problem.
Right.
We'd have to, like, when people logged off and went home, we'd like steal their computers and
Yeah.
use them for like render farms. So I find with Blender, the rendering has become so demystified. It's you can just really, that tension is gone. You can render a frame out so quickly, especially with
Mm,
their like base like EV rendering system. And if you want a fancier render that takes a couple minutes and looks like really nice with its like bounce light and fractions and stuff, you can go switch to cycles. So there's two main rendering pipelines you can use in Blender. But other than that, just the idea that you can make a film from start to finish
right.
in one program is very appealing. You can do it. You can make a 2D one. You can make a 3D one. Sure, the tools, like you were saying, Kathy, like Maya, I will say, Maya is a bit more robust in terms of animation specific tools. But Blender, you can kind of finagle it. You can kind of find a way around. Everyone has a different pipeline.
Mm.
I like that. It's very malleable. Um, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I think
Yeah.
my beef, and it's a small beef, is that when I'm working in a studio system, I'm very, very much under pressure to make frames. And so what I really care about is that my software is the most efficient at doing that. And all I have to worry about is the creative aspect. I want to think about the creative aspect. I don't want to have like 3 extra steps to get to that one technical solution. I know this is what I do after, and this might sound a little complex. It's really not. It just means less clicks to get to the one thing I'm trying to do. And Maya is a bit more efficient that way. Its system is more economical. And when I animate in Blender under a deadline, if I'm animating by myself, it's fine. But when I have like a set amount of hours and I want to get my idea out there in that window, it feels like I'm walking through molasses rather than, walking through water. I'm just slowed down a bit. Um, and that's not as big a deal when you're doing something independent, but it does slow you down a bit, I would say.
No, that's a great way of putting it. I agree. Yeah, you've used it in pipelines too. Like I think you did a feature Blender, or was it next
Yeah,
gen?
I've worked on 2 features using it. One a very low budget one where I worked at Tangent on this film called The Aussie, and we were really in it because nobody had done it with Blender before. So everything about the pipeline was being reinvented. Like the riggers didn't know how to rig characters for a pipeline. So there was a lot of learning, which actually made it really exciting. The team was small. Again, I think Blender lends itself to a small team.
Mm.
So the departments could just really communicate in person. And then when we moved on to next gen and the pipeline expanded to be more like a regular pipeline, bringing in a lot of people who are used to a regular pipeline, um, we got a lot better. But I always felt there were situations where we were like, okay, we need to do this. We'd have to just go through hoops to get there. And Blender has improved considerably since then. I want to say this was like 10 years ago, or maybe less. But even I worked on a project recently in Blender, and it has improved. But from an animation standpoint, Maya is just ahead of them in that regard. But I have started doing other things besides animating, and it is very accessible to an individual artist to pick up all the other things where
Okay.
Maya is not that way. Like I
Yeah.
understand Maya from an animation perspective. I would really have to spend time learning anything else. And Blender, like whether it's like rigging or modeling or shading or lighting or texturing, like you can jump in almost right away. And I don't know if that's how you feel as well, Tarun.
I agree. That's totally it. You're right. If I think about it for my day job, like if, animating in games and stuff, I would use Maya more. Just because, yeah, I know exactly what to fine tune and what results I'm gonna get. Blender, it's great for the experimental work, and sometimes there's happy accidents where, like, oh, this treatment looks great, and I did it by accident. I'll keep it, and
Yeah.
I've gone into a few of those rabbit holes of recent like so 30-second experiments becoming a thing that becomes my obsession for months. But that's as
Right.
soon as I'm done with my day job, as soon as
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 rolls around, I'm like, okay, I can open Blender, I can become a
Yeah.
different person really.
Can you talk a bit about the difference between working in games and working in animation? Like, first of all, like how did you make that transition? But also, like, what's the difference on a day-to-day level? Because you are animating still, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like a few new tools I had to learn to use. Again, like I had to learn it on the job. But if you come in with a sense of like curiosity and learning and open to that, that's great. The main tools of the trade in games show there's Maya, just like 3D animation, but there's also stuff like Motion Builder, which is Maya's like again like neglected sister program, which while Maya gets all these updates, Motion Builder does not. I think
Oh.
people have forgotten it exists, but everyone uses it. It's just a platform to get the mocap data from the actor
Right.
into the system, and then from there you can work in Motion Builder. You could also send it to Maya and work on it there. Some people have specific pipelines to do it. Every game I've worked on has a different pipeline.
Mhm.
Is it set up for you, or is this a pipeline? Like in terms of how you're working, do you have a choice whether you can work in Motion Builder and in Maya, or is it set by the production?
It depends on the project, but just like in an animated series or a movie, there's a pipeline TD who sets it up. Like he or she's on the project very early, and they go, "This is how we'll do it, and this is our tools will support it." There's like that in games. There's usually like a TD or a programmer that's on it early, and they do a bunch of tests and then they set it up. This is just
Right.
from my limited experience, but yeah, this is what I've seen. Where those jobs, there's some things that are very universal. Somebody sets up the pipeline,
Sure.
and you run into problems, and they have to kind of fix it as it goes on. Yeah.
I think it goes to that saying, like, as you said, like all productions may have a slightly different pipeline. Some of them may have completely different pipelines, but ultimately, as you're going through and working through that pipeline, you identify issues or maybe foresee issues and problems. And it kind of comes down to that whole necessity is the mother of invention, right? And I think even for independence, when you're doing your own thing and you're using Blender and you hit some obstacles, you find ways around it, you learn to adapt and work through it or work with whatever those shortcomings may be.
Right.
Yeah, could you talk a bit about like how you got from cinematic animation in games, or like just animation industry to games? I know it's in my mind they're the same thing, but I know on an industry level, when you're trying to get a job in games from an animation standpoint, they are not viewed the same by people hiring. Could you talk about how you made that happen?
Yeah, I I think I think everyone has a different path into games. We some of our colleagues in games like do talk about this because everyone some people like backed into it, and some people like lucked out. And I do think I got a bit lucky in that way. I was working actually on a show at Guru, the Mecha Builder show. That
Oh, yeah. I was
that
on that too.
yeah, it was. I actually had a great time, and it was. I felt like I was really doing some really good work, in my opinion. Like I felt like, oh, I finally get it. It's been like almost 10 years in the industry. I'm like, oh, I'm finishing all my shots. I'm helping out people. It felt great, and that's when I got an opportunity to direct a short film with the NFB, and already had a job, so and I was enjoying it. I wanted to do both things,
Mm.
and I went and spoke to my producers at the time, and they were so nice. Like I think they were the first few producers that I thought like, oh they like that. You producers are really beneficial to the process. Good producers,
Right.
like they can make or break a production, and I'm so glad I had like three really good influential people who are producing that show, and managing that show, and they told me like, oh, if you can manage both, go do that thing. And I went and directed that short, and from there I got an opportunity after the show ended to go work on a feature film. And I went and worked on a feature for a little while.
What
And
feature?
it was the one at Sinking Ship, the SpongeBob.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know you
yeah.
were on that. I
Yes,
wasn't on that one.
you
Did
were
I
on
know?
Jade. You were leading a
Yeah.
project there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would hear about your project through another like animator on your team, and I always wanted to tell you like, oh, we're working at the same studio, but I also know that you were like super swamped with like lead duties and stuff, and I
Oh
just
no, definitely always reach out. You should have reached out. But I was actually had a great time on that show. I was busy, but I was not swamped like the way I was on Remy and Boo. So Tarun and I worked on Remy and Boo together, and that project I was supervising, but I had been brought on as lead. So I was doing multiple roles at the same time, and that I was swamped on. But no, at
Mm.
Sinking Ship, I had a great time on that project. I would have been happy to have I even at Remy and Boo, I would have been happy to have a chat. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
I enjoyed my time at Sinking Ship as well. Yeah, so I was working on that movie, and I was seeing that what do you call it? I was getting kind of hit back on opportunities that I hadn't heard back from before, and
Mhm.
I really think directing a short film kind of just puts your name out there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
I
It
did.
does.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't aiming at it. I just really just wanted to make something of my own. And another thing that that short film did was I got invited to go to places. So again, I wasn't aiming to do it. I went to the Annecy Animation Festival for
Mhm.
the first time.
Cool.
It blew my mind that people were just going there every year to make shorts and just share them. And that's also the place I learned that I should have learned it sooner. But there was a place I learned that sure, features are great and all, but shorts are where you see the weird, freaky, cool
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
It's people are doing whatever they want, and they know they're like, oh yeah, no one's bankrolling this. This is one and done. So you might as
Yeah.
well just get it all out of the
Yeah.
system.
Get it out of your system.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
when I think about like something I get asked a lot is like how can I make my demo reel better? How can how can I stand out when I'm applying for jobs? And the thing that in my experience, right now is a bad time to be looking for work, but I think it's also a good time to take an opportunity like this to create something of your own. And like you said, Tarun, like directing something really opens people's eyes. It really gets you attention. It should be something you're passionate about. It should be something you want to work on. But it's just a sea of professional work out there, and when you see someone's own individual work, you get to see so much of who they are, and you get to know, oh, this person actually did this work. Because large productions are a collaboration, which is great, but you don't necessarily know which piece of which thing that person did. And showing your own work is like one of the number one ways to stand out from anybody else.
it's true. Yeah, yeah. So that film, that short, really helped me, especially with the backing of the NFB. They were sending it to places I had no clue it was going to.
Well,
I mean,
that's
obviously
Mm.
they tell me that they were doing it, but I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know. And
Right.
because I love I love animation, I love animating stuff, I love making my own stuff, but it wasn't the goal to send it to places, and that was very short-sighted of me. Sending it to places means you get to share it with people, and you get invited there, and you get to see other people's work, and you get to bring that home and be
Mhm.
inspired by that. So yeah, that trip to Annecy, and even going to just Montreal on multiple occasions, so any film festival has been really beneficial for me because if you see someone doing what they're passionate about and making like just even if it's like a minute long, uh, it shows that you can do it too. And I think that's what made me get a bunch of callbacks on other projects, whether well deserved or not. They were like, oh, okay, he did something. He worked
Yeah.
with the team, and that shows some drive and some ambition. Um, and I know a lot of people who have the capability to do it, but their reels are even students like all the reels are like very animation exercise heavy.
Mhm.
I wonder if like in the future I see a lot more people making short films. I wonder if in the future all the reels are going to be um, just like, oh yeah, watch my short film.
More personal work. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, it sounds like
yeah.
you that would be your piece of advice to other filmmakers or young people getting into the industry is trying to just, or carve out some time and do your own short film, right? Like it sounds like something that would be good for them to at least try to work on the side so they can not just develop their own skill and develop a sense of how everything works, but also to develop their own identity, to develop part of their own brand that can be then displayed to the rest of the world.
Totally, yeah. I know that like thinking about it that way, some people might find it a bit like icky, like oh, like you think of yourself as a brand or whatnot. I don't. I think it's just more of it in terms of how you frame it. Um,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's like if you make your own thing, you get better not just in the animation department. You
Hmm.
also get better as a writer, as a lighter. If you're doing everything, you get better at everything. It might be like slow gains, but you keep
Yeah.
doing enough.
Yeah.
If I were, let's say, like I was one of these young people and I had an idea or a few ideas like you have, you seem to have tons of ideas that you're kind of working on and have on your bulletin board in a sense. But if I was one of these other people and I said, I never really have the time or I don't know where to start, are there any like quick pieces of advice or inspirational things you could say to people like that?
I look at a lot of other people for inspiration. I think for a long time I was looking for like role models,
Hmm.
and it's tough to find because everyone's like they go do their job and then go home. But I
Right.
found that one thing to do is just watch more shorts, and it might be hard to get exposed to them. So maybe like use your student complimentary pass and and go to these festivals and meet
Right.
people there. In terms of like finding the time, as a student, if you don't have any like part-time job, any financial obligations other than going to school, I think you can find the time. I feel like I
Of
was like
course.
up to like 3 a.m. animating in my first few years of working in the industry too,
Hmm.
so as a recent grad. Um, and it was all terrible, but the second thing that I would encourage is to share your work online, even if you get like 2 views. I would say share it, and you can, if you want, you can take it down or like hide it later. But I
Right.
think sharing your work is so important. Even to it's something that I take into my personal work, my professional work as well. When I was working with you, Kathy, on Remy and Boo, even then I had an issue putting up a pass because I'd be like I want to just keep doctoring it and working on it, and it would hurt you. I would say like allot some time to do a pass on animation, put it up and get the notes. The
Hmm.
notes are what's important. The notes are what's going to make you better. So sharing it,
Right.
you'll get feedback and you'll just get better at
Yeah, that's
yeah.
always the thing that I've struggled as a supervisor with is getting juniors to just put themselves out there, ask questions, be open, and show me more and more. Because the longer you as an individual struggle with something that it is not necessarily working, or maybe it is, but you're just spending too much time on it, the long it, the longer you're going to spend on that shot in the whole long run. When you get if you're open to getting feedback and happy to receive it, you can just get faster and faster and faster and faster. Um, but yeah, juniors are very like you weren't the only one, Tarun, who's very reserved about showing work. Um, so I was trying to be as approachable as possible to have those conversations. Um, I was hoping we could just loop back for 1 second to how you got into games again, because you were
Oh,
saying you started that process by your NFP, like getting more recognition. Is that sort of how you got into games? That you had this knowledge of cinematics, and that was viewed as like
uh,
useful.
yeah. Well, I thankfully I have I've been gaming since a young age. Like this animation games, it's all I kind of look at them as like kind of the same pool, like things I love, and cinematics is really based off of it is just it's making more short films. Every cutscene is essentially a shot from a movie. So if you can get your cinema language to like look look proficient or look like communicate ideas well in your on your own work, you can be considered for a role in cinematic animation. Working on shows and films definitely do help. I think films. I don't know if it should be this way, but films are given more recognition.
Hmm.
Like feature films, if you worked on an animated feature film, they know that you can spend time on like a couple seconds and really polish it. Um, However, once you're in the system, it really is just, you know, working with actors and working with directors to polish like the very long cutscenes that are way longer than any shot you'd find in a film. So you get a ton of data, and you might think like, okay, I'm getting actors moving, and it's all very clean. I'm already done. But there's so much. Even the way we move is so interesting. There's a lot of noise in a human body that you have to negate. Sometimes you have to make things louder.
Yeah.
Like it's like stage acting versus like film acting. You know, like
Hmm.
you have to find game acting is another part of that where you're making
Yeah.
some things louder, some things not as loud. I find it very interesting too because there's iterations in
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, that's something in TV you don't get, is the chance to iterate a lot. I found working in VFX, at least on my last project, I actually had quite a lot of time to iterate, and that helped me push my skills quite far. Where when you're working in kids animation, although there's some really strong skills you're going to learn working extremely fast and learning how to be a very efficient. That's an incredible skill to have, which is undervalued, I think, in most high-end animation companies. But like
Totally.
being able to not waste time on the things that aren't worth wasting time on, to focus in on the high end quality part of things, is an incredible skill to have. But you have to be able to have the eye to do those niche things as well, and then you don't necessarily get that working very quickly in kids TV. um,
I got this really good piece of advice I still look at. I still think about. It's first you get fast and then you get good.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
Hmm.
and I'm working on I think I'm fast now, so working on the good part now.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But I appreciate both sides of it.
yeah. Well, because
Video
the
games,
faster you are, the more time you have to make choices and redo choices.
totally.
So if
Yeah.
you're slow and you made the wrong choice, you don't have any time to fix that now. But if you're quick and you get to play, you're more likely to find the choice that's correct, or good.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I still try to dabble in everything, the video games and TV and film. Like I'm trying to make my own short films, and also I'm with my partner. We're working on a TV show right now that we're trying to make, and also we're trying to. I mean, I'm still working in video games, and I want to make games in the future too. So yeah, it's
So is the show you're working on from your pitch, from Pitch This?
yes, it is. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So
cool. Could
yeah.
you talk really briefly about what Pitch This was like?
Oh, yeah. Pitch This was it's a sort of competition that the Ottawa International Animation Festival has every year. I encourage anyone who wants to do it or has an idea for a film just to submit because sorry, an idea for a show to submit because I did it on a whim. This was something that I saw and I was like, oh, I have like these 10 things that I made on my reels on Instagram, and I took one and I was like, what is the story behind this? And we sort of reverse engineered it, and I was like, why would I watch this show? And we made up a whole thing. My partner and I, Joanna and I, we made this little very like quaint little idea of like what if we had a local show set in the city in Toronto. There's this park called High Park. We thought, what
Hmm.
if we just made a show about these animals living in High Park, and it's pulling from a bit of that British sensibility
Hmm.
of like Peter Rabbit and Paddington and all that, but also it's set here, so it has its own flavor. And we sent in the pitch, and when we got selected, I was already a win because you get a free ticket to go watch all the films, attend all the
Yeah.
animation talks, and you get to meet a ton of people. That ticket is like yeah, it's I find that was the win. We got to, and on the first day we showed up, and we pitched with 10 other people. We went last, which is nerve wracking,
Oh my
but
God, yeah.
but we heard 9 other pitches that again I feel like I'd watch all these shows. Uh,
Yeah.
but one thing we did do before we went there was we spoke to. I made it a point to like reach out to the previous winners and participants and ask them like what what their advice would be, and they all consistently said, practice your pitch,
Yes.
practice hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And we did. We every morning, my partner and I, we go on this like 2 hour walk to start the day off, and that's when we kind of share ideas for animations and pitches. And for months, our morning walk was us rehearsing a 10-minute pitch, like 50 times. And we finally, when we showed up, pitched, and it worked out for us. We got called into the semifinals with another participant, and we went on to win it. And I find that since we went in with the mentality that we had done our homework and we knew our pitch, we got to really enjoy the festival, because after our pitch, we just run to screenings of short films. We didn't get to catch everything, and I learned later, everyone told us, you're not going to be able to watch it.
No.
But yeah.
There's so many there, but
yeah. Wow, that really makes me, what you're saying really reminds me of if you've ever seen interviews with Chris Hadfield, the Canadian astronaut. He's like, astronauts don't go into space afraid or freaked out because they've rehearsed so many times, so many times they don't feel that fear. They're just like, we're just doing the thing we've done a billion times. And that sounds like what you guys did. Like the stress of it was lessened because you were like, we're hard prepped for this.
Totally, yeah. Now that pitch is like tattooed on the inside of my eye, like we can do it in our sleep. There were times, there have been times when I've caught Joanna zoning out, and she'll just say a line from the pitch. Oh, you just it's just in there. It's in the.
It'll haunt you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I had that experience too. Like in I think it was 2018 or 19, I did pitch this as well.
Oh,
it was that I practiced and I memorized everything. I mean, you go on stage and you still feel nervous. Obviously, you're not sure how it's going to turn out, but having practiced that much, you're more comfortable with the pitch. You're more comfortable with the material. So, especially for anyone that doesn't know, once that pitch is done, at least when I had done it as well, the jurors or the judges then can ask you questions. So you really do need to know your content, because they can ask you an odd question that maybe you hadn't thought about, and you don't want to be caught off guard by something like that.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And even pitching to your friends and family really helps. And they ask questions too. We've practiced a lot. We pitched to like people on a video call like this, or people in the same room. We've pitched to like a group of like family that all different ages, and the kids screaming in the back, and this stuff going on, this food being served, and so that prepared us for any sort of eventuality. I've also learned, like, if people aren't paying attention, sometimes it is out of your hands, but you can kind of turn the situation into something else. Like the conversation might need to be catered to them, like engaging the person. And so I'd like to think that all these interactions really helped us. It helps if you know also who you are and how to present the information to the most honest depiction of yourself, because you're not selling just the idea, you're selling yourself.
Exactly.
So, totally. And you guys won, am I correct? The pitch.
Yes, we won. Yeah, we were very happy to win. It was
and what does that mean when you win? Do you guys get support to develop the show? Is that
well, I think in the past when the industry was much more kind of like
robust,
a little more opportunities, a little more healthy, a little more, people were a little more gutsy with their expenses. You get a green light to like develop. And while we didn't get that this year, the last 1 or 2 years, the prize has been like some prize money plus like a free software and some tutorials on Toon Boom and stuff, which again, great. But the best thing I got from it was legal support. We got some time with a lawyer, and I just asked a bunch of questions. We asked a bunch of questions about how it would work if we went into business with someone. It also again got our names out there, and after we got off stage, we immediately again, very rare situation, but we got a couple offers to be like, can you meet with us? Can we talk about it? Because all the execs were in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Even people who when they saw the pitch and later in the night when everyone at the festival was like intermixing and like getting drinks and stuff, they were like, we'll get you a drink, but we're not interested in your idea. And then a week later, they'd be like, but we want to take a meeting. And so I found it very odd because no one was ready to take it forward, but they did want to talk, and we felt like, okay, again, like another freebie, like it's
Yeah.
that shows the idea has some legs.
Yeah.
Oh
And I think
yeah.
it
Oh
also
yeah.
shows who you are as the creators, right? And you're right, like a lot of it has to do with the landscape of our industry right now. Because in the past, I recall there were like part of the winning prize was a development deal with Nelvana or somebody, and it was worth maybe about $12,000
Mm-hmm.
of development. So, but what you did up there was, not just sell your pitch and win the pitch competition, but you sold yourself in a way, right? You showed the world and the world around you who you are as a creator, who you and Joanne are, and you got those networking opportunities for that.
Totally, yeah, yeah. We the main thing was we met a lot of really important. Not, I wouldn't say important. I would say like really interesting people, and
Hmm.
they weren't just network execs. They were also indie animators that have since
Yep.
I've kept in contact with a lot of them, and they have their own projects, and we get to like kind of support each other that way too. If you like something, definitely like it, support it, comment on it, and
Yeah.
I think we're all very what do you call it? We have to support each other in terms of like even validation isn't the word. What is it? I know maybe we're all like kind of recognition driven that way
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
think
Yeah.
encouragement, right?
I was gonna
encouragement.
say, yeah,
That's fair.
that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just while we're wrapping up here, Turn, I was wondering if there's like something you can look back on in your career, whether it's personal life or career based, that like changed your perspective on you doing something so independent. Like, was there a moment that you were like, oh, I can do this? Uh, was there like a big production you went through and you were like, okay, if I can do this, I could do anything? Was
Mm,
there ever a moment like that in your career?
I did think about it for a second. Is this something that
A big challenge that you overcame?
uh yeah, I would say thinking back to the making directing a short film with the NFB while also working on a television show.
Mm.
It was essentially actually two full-time things, but
Hmm.
but with the support of people in my personal life, like my contribution to my household or whatever, I was mentally checked out. I was at my desk all the time.
Right.
Joanna had to really provide me with like she picked up the slack, and I don't even mean in like a very like cliche like domestic way. It was, I think, when you're a person, you have to like have relationships with people. You have to grow that way. Even going out and like socializing had taken a big hit, and I thankfully I have a partner who kind of lifts me up that way. Where she's all about caring about people and all that. And I, if I was left my own devices, I don't think I could have done it. So it would probably be the balancing working on a short film along with working on a show. I'm so glad I did it, and it helped also that I had great producers and project managers. Like I'll shout them out, like Kyrene and Vanessa and so many people. Even our directors were very good, and everyone was super encouraging. And it really does take a group effort uh, to a support from your personal network to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to be thankful for that, even if it even if any of them did something, oh my god, I would love to like return the favor. If anyone needs anything from me, please, like you did me a solid, and I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, that really makes me think about how like what you're talking about is doing an insane amount of work in a short period of time, which, sometimes you have to do, but you're also saying that like you wouldn't have been able to do that without other people there, and there's no way that you could have other people there if you didn't have a social life before that, if you didn't have
Yeah.
interest before that. So even though your work-life balance sounds like it was terrible at the time, the periods after and before that were, cultural world building experiences for you that elevated that experience. You can't just be working all the time. You creatively, you would dry up. So all
Yeah.
those other people added to that experience. I think that's a great lesson, because it's pretty easy to get sucked into a project and think, oh, I'm just going to do this by myself forever, and then it falls apart, right? It's
Totally.
just really hard to do that by yourself. Animation is a team sport, even when you're doing
Yeah.
independent work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I met someone who directed their own feature film all by themselves and did the whole thing. His name is Denver Jackson. He made like a bunch of like feature films by himself.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how does he do it? And he's like, I sit in a room for 2.5 years and then I come out and the film is done. And he doesn't do anything else in the time. I was like, what about like that human connection? What about that? He's like, that's what all this is for. And now he's going to festivals and places and really filling up his tank with that inspiration and that human connection.
Right.
So yeah,
that's a model that would not work for me personally.
I think when I was
that
younger,
people do that. Maybe maybe in my early 20s. Even then, even when I was making my own short film, I had a couple people helping me in the areas that I didn't know. I was doing the whole thing and I was working long hours, but I still needed to sleep. I still needed to eat. Those are important things too. So some people, I don't think that's a model that's sustainable for most people, the locking yourself away for 2 years.
Oh yeah, no, we're all built different. Like I think there's periods where you look inward and periods where you look outward.
Yeah.
But the good thing is to look outward and inward. I think you got to do both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Oh man, well, this was such a great conversation, Tarun. Thank you so much for being here today and letting us into your world.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
The Animation Career Community podcast is created and hosted by Kathy McDonald and John Lee. Music by Mike Romaniak, mixing and editing by Kathy McDonald, and produced by Kyrene Kim.